Everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, Vincent LaRusso and I are going to do a look back at the Creatures of the Night album. We'll go song by song, giving our opinions. We'll talk about the era, the makeup, the stage show, and much more. Lots to cover in this episode. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So let's jump in and let's get started. Everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock Experience with Mike Brunn. Today I have with me my buddy, my comrade. Haven't called him the chemist in a long time. I'll call him the chemist. My partner in crime. This is like a flashback to all the names I used to have for you. Hey,
That's
buddy,
right.
How you doing?
Notice I never have a name for you, though.
No, I know. You're like
I gotta work on that.
Yeah. I'll let you think.
I'm doing
about
well,
that.
thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll think
very
about
good.
that.
Good. Well, we've been doing a few of these lately, and I know I said this when we did the one for Rock and Roll Over, right? How I put a vote up on my page to say, we wanted to do some look back episodes on some Kiss records, and the highest vote getter was Rock and Roll Over, so we released that one, and then the number 2 was Creatures of the Night, and I said, well, I think we need to do a look back on that, and I think you were thoroughly thrilled over the idea of doing a look back for Creatures, right?
Of course. Listen, I'll do a look back on anything Kiss related. Got to be quite honest. So, but yeah, I particularly like these album look backs and giving each song a score and seeing what our averages is, and especially since we both grew up listening to these things and sort of compared notes at the time. Not on every record, but we always say there was a short period of time where we weren't hanging as much. But
Yep.
And this was certainly one of
this is one of the times. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be an album, as we do a look back, that I have a feeling we're going to have a few difference of opinions on this one.
Yeah.
Just a gut feeling. But I always like to start these episodes by just kind of framing what was going on in music at the time. But right now I'm going to start specifically with what was going on with Kiss at the time, right? So think about the lead up to this album, right? So we've done a look back on Dynasty, which a lot of people considered to be their disco album, came out in 79. Then we did a look back on Unmasked, which a lot of people consider their pop album, came out in 1980. We have not done a look back yet on the Elder. We got to put that one into the mix, right? But that, a lot of people, their conceptual album. It's definitely a far left-hand turn on that one. So Kiss was going through a bit of a change, not just with the members of the band, right? Peter Criss leaving, Ace Frehley leaving for this album, right? But just even their sounds overall was just seemed to be changing from album to album. And I think at the time they were like losing a lot of their core followers who just kind of didn't understand what the band was doing. So this is obviously a much heavier album. We'll talk about that. But, just thinking back to that 80 to 82 time period, what a weird time as a Kiss fan, like all those different kind of albums they were putting out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, part of the reason why I kind of checked out a bit was because I feel like, they kind of lost their way. Going into, and I wasn't opposed to Unmasked. But I think what happened with me again, and I may have said this in the past, so excuse me for repeating myself, but I think my taste in music was evolving, and I was getting into different things and listening to different artists, and certainly getting more into the pop stuff. But I also kind of at that time discovered Rush and some other things, so it kind of took me a little bit away from the Kiss camp. For a couple of years, I would say.
What's funny for me is I had no issue as a kid with Dynasty, Unmasked, or even the Elder. But oddly enough, the first time I checked out as a Kiss fan, was right after I got Creatures of the Night, which I got the day it came out.
Hmm.
Which is just kind of interesting as I look back on that as a kid, and look, maybe some of those pop sounds and whatever kind of appeals more to a 10-year-old. But yeah, I actually tuned out for about 6 to 8 months, maybe close to a year even, when I got the Creatures of the Night album. And we'll talk about the songs, in a few moments, but and my opinions have since changed, I think. But it's interesting that this is like the first time I tuned out as a Kiss fan.
So, okay, so let's just set the timeline a little bit, just so
Yeah,
that I could kind of figure out how long I checked out for. So, Lick It Up came out in what month?
September
And
of
83.
83. September.
September of 83. The Elder came out with and when?
November of 81.
November of 81. So it's
I'm doing this
almost,
off the top of my head, but I'm fairly
yeah.
positive I'm right.
So it's almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Because I didn't own the Elder. I only kind of knew of the Elder.
Mm-hmm.
I knew Unmasked. I had cousins who I had the Shandy 45.
Okay.
I had a cousin who had, I listened to their, the album. So I kind of ran its course with Unmasked. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you figure, when Unmasked ran its course, and then the Elder, that's why I'm kind of figuring Elder
Right.
to, Lick It Up. However, if memory serves me correct, I certainly was aware of certain elements of Creatures of the Night before you kind of introduced me to Lick It Up, not
Right.
even kind of knowing at the time that's how far I was out of the Kiss camp for a
Mm-hmm.
while.
Yeah.
So, but let's just say for argument's sake, it was a year and a half to 2 years.
Right. Interesting. So we both were kind of a little bit checked out during this Creatures of the Night era, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty ironic. And look, at the same time, they weren't touring America for like a 2-year period at that time. So from late 1979, which was the last show they did in America for the Dynasty tour. Of course, they played the Palladium in July of 1980 in New York City, but that was the only show on US soil from late 79 until late 1982. Now, obviously, we were too young to be going to concerts on our own, but I'm sure that also had to play a part in a lot of the fandom kind of, not only not loving the records that they were putting out, but also not being able to see the band live.
Yeah, and let's face facts. And I mean, just thinking about the time period, I was so consumed by the Michael Jackson thing. I mean, I really like idolized him and that record, especially Thriller. And from 82 on, and we don't need to go into history of that record,
Mm-hmm.
but I was all consumed of that. And then when they did the Jackson's Victory album, I was kind of all into that pop and Prince and then Madonna and all that stuff. I was definitely getting involved in a lot of that. And then I always say until I heard Come On Feel the Noise and Photograph and Rock of Ages. And that's kind of the 83 time period that kind of got me back into that hard rock metal stuff again.
Which is funny because if you look back at that early 80s time period, there's so many classic hard rock albums, right? AC/DC was putting out Back in Black, for those about to rock, right? Those are 80, 81. Ozzy obviously had Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. Van Halen was going full steam with Women and Children First and Fair Warning. Sabbath with Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. A bunch of great albums there. You had newer bands coming up like Def Leppard, right? Was just starting out. Night Ranger was just starting out. Twisted Sister was just starting out. Maiden, Number of the Beast. I happen to love that album even back then. So there's a lot of great heavy metal. And I look at that stuff and I think of what Kiss was doing with the pop and the Elder and all of that. And then how they make a left turn with Creatures at Night being heavier. And I have to think it's a little bit of that influence of seeing these Ozzy albums, AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, so on and so forth. And the popularity of those albums had to, I think, weigh on them a little bit like, hey, we need to get back to our roots.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was a great, that 81 or 80 or what do you want, 81 to 83 time period was certainly, I mean, you British Steel, Screaming for Vengeance, some others. I mean, my good friend Brian, when he moved on my block, he introduced me to he had all those records. So, when you first become friends with somebody, you go and see their record collection. And I was like, what is this? What is this? What is this? He had Blizzard of Oz. He had all these records. So that also got me involved in all that heavy metal of that time period, and obviously it was very fresh. These are all classic albums at this point. He actually had The Elder, I remember, and I was like, oh, what is this record? He's like, oh, it's terrible. You don't want to listen. I remember like, yeah, you don't want to listen to this, and I don't think I did at the time. I was just like, whatever. I may have borrowed it. I don't remember. But he also may have had Creatures of the Night, and that might have been my first introduction to Creatures. But it was actually fun to have a friend who had all these records, because I always say, for whatever reason, I didn't have a lot of records as a kid, and that made, not only, as we did on the last episode when I was showing my Kiss crate of all my goodies, but in 85 and 86 and 87, man, you could go to a record store, and I was just, as I was just pillaging the record stores of just all these great records, because once I heard them, I'm like, oh wait, I could buy 3 Maiden records, I could buy 3 Judas Priest records, I could buy whatever was the classic. They weren't classic at that time, like classic now, but the AC/DC. I mean, it was just Def Leppard. I remember getting was it High and Dry, and their first album, On Through the Night, and loving those records too. It was like it was really, really cool, just to be a hard rock fan, and didn't have to wait for the band to come out with a new record, because a lot of these bands already had 2 records or more. I mean, look at Judas Priest. I mean, they go back to the early 70s. I mean, although I didn't buy any of those records, but they definitely, there were some artists that, AC/DC, what, mid 70s, mid to 76, 77, around that time. So
finish that. I'm sorry.
No, so it was a great time to be listening to music. And then like you always say, I know you've gone through it. I don't know what records were out then when this record, Hall & Oates had Maneater, this one had this one, and you look at the Billboard charts, and it's like classic after classic after classic. Like, who would have known back then these songs we were listening to on the radio were going to become classic?
They're timeless. They're timeless.
Yeah.
And to me, this is the time period, and it's probably why I got out of Kiss for a little bit, because it's when I started to really learn about other bands. And I remember somebody gave me, so I didn't have a friend with albums at the time. I had a friend of mine make me a BASF cassette. It's a red one. I still have it somewhere. And on it, it says Ozzy-Ozzy. Why not Ozzy Osbourne? I don't know, but it says Ozzy-Ozzy. And it's basically the first 2 albums, but not like, he didn't record the albums for me, like from side 1 to side 2, beginning to end. He did it like a mixtape, but basically it was the first 2 albums. and I played that cassette to death. And I became an Ozzy fan at that time. Saw Ozzy in early '84, became a Motley Crue fan, was into Rat around that time. So, I was definitely, I could look back and say I know why I was tuning out to Kiss a little bit, because there's other music was coming in for the first time as a kid. But then I look back and I say, well, Kiss put out Creatures of the Night, a pretty strong record, a rock album, very much like the music I was listening to. I'm surprised I tuned out with Creatures. Now I tuned right back in with Look It Up, to be honest with you. But I just want to say, and I had Creatures of the Night literally the day it came out. I purchased it, or my parents probably purchased it for me. Do you remember, did you get Creatures of the Night when it first came out, or was it years later?
Years later. As a matter of fact, I had gotten the 85 version which I think I showed on the last episode. I had gotten that probably around 86 or something like that. 87 maybe.
Right.
And then it was the hunt for because we knew then, like, that was already a rare cover in I don't know how many the original blue, the iconic cover sold.
Well, I'll say this, the alternate cover with Bruce is now rarer and harder to find than the original cover.
Which is, crazy at this point. But
it's ironic, yeah.
Well, it makes sense, but I remember, the hunt for that record. And so I had the record, my cousins had the cassette. We would listen to it. I was very aware of the record. Again, didn't own a lot, but then once I started making some coin, and actually being able to buy these things, and then forget it. When I started working in the city down by Wall Street, J&R Music World was there, and I was there every day during lunch.
Yeah.
Just getting whatever I could get my hands on, and then being able to go down to the Village and getting all the collectible and trying to find these records was. Right. Man, I just love that time. It's just such a great time. That the feeling you get when you see that record that you're on the hunt for, and you go in and then you see it, and it's just like, oh, it's it's such a great feeling. But yeah, I did not own that um, until probably about maybe 2 or 3 years later after it came out. But
And
certainly was aware of the whole record. I knew
right,
I knew
right.
every song at that point.
And I'll share, I guess, a related to Creature's era, a story like you said, going to a record store and looking through the bin for a record that that you're looking for. I remember going to a record store probably like 84, 85, and just looking through the Kiss section like I always do.
Mm.
And all of a sudden I see this album cover that I had no idea what it is. And I pull it up and it was actually Kiss Killers. I'm like,
Yeah,
what is this? I turn it around. I'm a legend tonight. I don't know the Down on Your Knees. I don't know these song titles. And I instantly, I bought that. I went home, played that. It's, yeah, I mentioned before, Dynasty, Unmasked, The Elder. I personally, in my mind, leave out Killers because even though it's that time period, for me, Killers was like 4 years later. but I just
yeah,
want to acknowledge that it did come out during that time. And I know I said that Kiss didn't tour America from 79 until late 82. I do want to acknowledge for the people who watch, from all around the world. Obviously, Kiss, I know they did tour 1980 overseas quite a bit. And, the Unmasked tour was extremely popular. But then for those fans overseas, it was from 1980 until 1983 until the band toured there again. So there was these pockets of time where Kiss just wasn't touring the way they had been, especially in America, for years. The Creatures tour, we know, did not do successful and did not do well. And we'll talk about that and maybe after we go through the songs, right? But it's just an interesting time for the band to me all around.
absolutely. And I
Should
think
we
I
good?
no, I was just say like I think I did have Killers before I did have
Really
because I
interesting.
remember kind of seeing that by accident. I think this was ironically the sticker of the price says Target. And I
Huh,
know I didn't go to a Target back then. I didn't even know
right.
Target existed until the 90s.
Wow.
So I feel like I got that at like, again, Record Factory, which was in Brooklyn or something like that.
Right.
And just, looking through the Kiss sound, like, what is this?
Right. Right.
Seeing Eric Carr and makeup on the cover and then flipping it over. And then again, seeing, I'm a Legend Tonight and,
Yep.
that, like the songs you said. I'm like, I don't know
Yep.
these songs. And I
Partners in
just,
Crimes, and
Partners in
we'll have to
Crime.
do a look back on those new songs also.
Yeah.
Maybe a little short,
So,
abbreviated
yeah.
episode since it's only 4
Yeah.
songs. But
Yeah.
should we jump into the songs on Creatures of the Night?
Yeah, sure.
All righty. All right, let's start with side A, the title track. Why don't you go first, my friend?
Don't ask if I have the spreadsheet, and don't ask. No,
No,
don't
I'm
even
not.
go
I'm not
there.
going to insult you. I'm not going to
All
insult
right.
you.
All right. Oh wait, hold on. Did I do the spreadsheet?
It would be funny if you didn't have it.
Yeah, at this point, right?
Yeah, it would be.
Okay.
Creatures of the Night, title track, first song on the album. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I went back and forth a little bit on this one. I almost feel like, I mean, listen, I gave it a good score. I'm not gonna, but I just thought when I was gonna give it higher, just being Creature of the Night. However, I did give it an 8.5, so that's a pretty damn high score.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I mean?
I thought I was waiting.
But
to say,
I mean,
yeah, hold on. Before we go any further, as I always say, and I forgot to say here, we 0 to 10, 5 is average, 7 and above is upper echelon songs. Not every song is a perfect 10, right? Below 5 is below average. Go ahead, continue.
yeah, and I always say, this is subject to change on any given day. We could plus or minus. But yeah, I gave the song an 8.5. It's, it's a great opening track to the title track to the album. It's got a cool guitar solo. I think you have anticipated whether it was who played on that supposedly. I have the Wikipedia open.
Okay. Yeah.
That was Steve Farris.
Steve Farris, right? That's what I thought.
Which wasn't he? Was he the Mr. guy?
Mr. Yeah.
Yeah. So weird, like
yes.
But yeah, I mean it's got a really cool guitar solo. It's well, let's just start off about the sonics of this record before we go into the because one of the things about this record is it's a groundbreaking record because there really was no record that sounded like it before, and so many artists like the Motley Crues and the Metallicas were heavily influenced by the sound and wanted their producers and engineers to copy that drum sound. So, I remember being at a, and you may have this, I don't know, at one of the indie expos, and Michael James Jackson was on, doing a Q&A, and I asked about the drum sound and how they got that drum sound. I don't know if you have that link somewhere. I don't even know if you have that video. I think you recorded.
I don't know if I don't remember if I recorded that or not.
Well, if you do, I hate to disappoint people if you don't, but if you do, it'll be
It's
in the
not up on
description.
YouTube. No, it's not up on YouTube. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
So I'll
So
have to go through
you
my
know,
old videos and see if I have that.
but he really went into quite an amount of detail, more than I thought he was going to
Yeah.
talk about because I was certainly really interested in how they got, and he did get quite technical on it, but this record all around just sounds like no other record, like a before or after, in my opinion. So that being said, yeah, I give the song an 8.5. It's a great opening song. Paul's vocal is great. It's interesting that Gene didn't play bass on this. Supposedly,
Yep.
the guy from Toto played on this, Mike Porcaro. Crazy, But these were
Yep.
session guys, and
Of
I don't
course.
know, maybe Gene was taming his wig one day. I don't know, but
It could have definitely been.
yeah. Um,
Oh man.
you know,
Well,
um, yeah,
yeah, I was gonna say it's funny you were talking about the production on the album, and it just automatically triggered in my mind when I interviewed Vinnie Vincent, and we did like a 2+ hour interview on just the Creatures era, and he made a comment about how he wished the production was more guitar driven. Not surprising to hear him say that. He's a guitarist, and a little less drum driven. And I'll be honest, for my money, while I don't necessarily agree with Vinny there, and I happen to think, especially the drums at the start of the album, that whole drum fill at the start. I mean, what a friggin' way to start an album, to kind of announce that we're back to rocking. But I'm gonna, and this is gonna be my first of many comments I make about this album that I'm gonna get friggin' egged on by the fans. I prefer the production on the Lick It Up album over Creatures of the Night.
listen, it's definitely Creatures of the Night has has some elements of Creatures of the Night, just less reverb. That's really what
Yep.
comes down. It doesn't
Yep.
have as much, and I don't know if you really should get a lot of heat on that one, because I could see that. Um, but I certainly would say this. I think, we've only heard Creatures this way. I certainly think for the songs the production fits the songs well. That'll be my
Agreed.
commentary on that.
Yeah, no, look, I'll agree with you. And when we get to Look It Up, not Look It Up, when we get to I Love It Loud, I was going to say this, but if you look at I Love It Loud on this album compared to Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits, what a freaking travesty that is, the production on
Well,
Smashes, right? So it needs that bombastic drum sound. I do agree on a song like that.
yeah, no, definitely, and you know what? I think maybe also Look It Up has more pop elements to it, songwriting wise, than maybe Creatures does.
Yep.
If Look It Up had the sonics of Creatures of the Night, it wouldn't work.
True.
So I could see why, they tamed that record a bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's anyways. I gave it an 8.5.
All right. Well, I thought when you first started talking, you were going to go like 6 or something like that. So I'm happy to hear you went with an 8.5. That's actually exactly what I went with, also an 8.5. I love the drum opening on this song. Like you said, I love Paul's vocal. I love the guitar playing. I don't get hung up on that. There's like 9 different songs and 9 different guitarists. I know there's not really 9 different guitarists, but people get the point. I just think it's a great, great song. If we were doing this based on live performances, especially in the 80s, I would have given this like a 4 or a 5. I hate the way this song translated live.
Way too
85 and
fast.
forward, way too fast. It just loses a lot of the feel of the song. But we're talking the studio versions here. To me, 8.5, really, really good song.
Yeah, agree.
All righty. I'm going to go in the sequence of the original order, not the reissue. So my second song is Saint and Sinner. Go ahead, my friend.
Well, this is an interesting Gene record. That's what I'm going to say. You know, I don't want to give it away now, but let's just say that I feel some of the stuff on this record is very mediocre on Gene's part, in my opinion.
Okay. You're
Average, I'll
surprising me
say.
already. Wow.
Yeah. This particular song, I gave a 5.5, more because of the drums. I gotta be honest. Eric Carr's feel in that verse is. I mean, what a great. I mean, Eric Carr's drumming on this record is incredible.
Agreed.
I mean, from song to song, he's got something special, in my opinion. I could tell you on each song what makes it. You could say the opening drums to Creatures of the Night, but just a groove, it's almost like Immigrant Song-ish,
Okay.
his feel, on
And I
Creatures of the
remember
Night.
like towards the end of the song where it's like the whoa 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 part, and he's like
Yeah,
riding the cymbal or whatever it is that like the
yeah,
way he's playing his drum. I agree with you. He's drumming on this song, the whole album, but this song
yeah,
especially to me is
yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the song. I think it's a little above average, and that's why I give it a
Mhm.
5.5.
Okay. Yeah. Look, I thought you were going to go stronger than that. And I thought we were going to have a lot of differences. And so far, at least out of the gate, we don't have tremendous differences. I'm going to go with a 6 on this. I think it's a good song. It's definitely not upper echelon, great type of thing. If Eric's drumming wasn't as powerful and as good as it was on this song, I'd probably even be at a 5 or lower. But I
Yeah.
think Eric kind of saves the day on this song. I know Eric has said this was his favorite Kiss song. I remember seeing
Mm,
that a few times. I would have
yeah.
loved to have heard the band try to do this live. I wonder how it would have translated. But yeah, I'm now I'm really curious to see where we go with this whole discussion because I thought you were going to be. I'm thinking you were going to be in a 7 or 8 range on this because I know you love the
Mm,
drumming on this, and I thought that that's where your mind would only
mm,
go. So all right, you what did you say, 5.5, and I'm a
five
6.
and a half.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
all right. Third song, "Keep Me Coming," the last song written for the album. I'm gonna keep letting you go first. I'm having fun hearing you surprise me.
Keep Me Coming, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah,
Is that
well,
what it is?
I was gonna say the next song is a Led Zeppelin cover, but I said I did that
Mm.
last time for Making Love. I can't do it the same joke again.
Yeah, listen, this has got a really cool riff. Um, it's got a really cool bass part, and the verses
Mhm.
really listen to the bass. Again, did Gene play on it? I'm not even sure.
I doubt
He's
it.
credited on vocals, bass, except 1, 5, and 7. So according to this, he did play on this track.
Okay.
Um, cool bass line. Um, it's definitely got the Robert Plant, like, I keep it coming, baby. Whatever he says, and that the chorus gets a little monotonous towards the end.
Mhm.
Keep me coming, keep it
Mhm.
coming, coming. With that being said, I give it a 6. I give it
Okay.
a point above average.
All right. Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with you again. Wow, this is not going to be anywhere near as different as I thought it was going to be. I think it's a good song. It's not a great song. Um, Definitely very Led Zeppelin-y. Certainly better than Radar for Love if we're going to talk about
Much.
Paul Stanley's Led
Yeah, yeah,
Zeppelin influences, but certainly
yeah,
nowhere near as good as like a Making Love to me. So
absolutely.
yeah, I'm going to go with a 6 on this one as well. To me, it's a good song. It's not a great song. I was happy when I saw them do it on the cruise. I was like, ooh, yay, yay, yay. And they did do this the first couple of shows on the Creatures of the Night tour and then dropped it. I thought it sounded really good live. Um,
Hmm.
but it's not to me a great song. And, it's a good song, but it's not a great song.
I agree. Speaking of which,
Rock and Roll Hell.
yeah. Again, I didn't really never got I like when this was the one that Ace Frehley had on his. Did he have this on
Yeah, he
Origins?
put this on
I
Origins
I
tour.
never really understood this. I
Mhm.
never really like got into the song at all.
Yep.
That being said, it's not a bad song. It's like when I say average Gene, I think it's a 5. It's
Mhm.
not a bad. I won't put it lower than an average, but I think there's nothing in the song that like bothers me. It's there.
Right.
It's good enough to be an average song, in my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah. The fact that this is basically a cover tune, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, it was what Bachman Turner Overdrive, I think was the original version of this.
Yeah.
Um, I don't understand it. I don't
Yeah.
understand it when Gene has songs like It's My Life in the Can at this point that they don't put on the album. I
Paul
don't
Stanley. I'm
understand.
sorry. I a little peanut in my.
Well, yeah, and that's, you know, yeah, always seems like they're leaving Gene's better songs
Sorry.
off these albums. Um, I remember when we did our Rock and Roll Over episode, I said Love 'Em Leave 'Em was plodding. If there's a song in the Kiss catalog that plods along, this is it. I
Yeah.
just to me, it's kind of boring to me.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. I know a lot of Kiss fans love this song, and this is one I thought I'd get crucified for. So I'm glad you went first and didn't give it a stellar rating like I thought you were going to. I actually think this is below average. I'm going to go with a 4.5 on this. To me, there's nothing that makes me say, what a great friggin' song this is. Good vocal by
Hmm.
Gene, but
Yeah.
Man, I think I'd
And
rather listen to Cold Gin over this, and we all know my opinion on Cold Gin and how boring that song is. This is even
no,
more boring than it's not a
yeah.
horrible song, but it's just
No,
as
it's not.
boring. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, until it goes to the next song. That's where it goes.
Until it's finally over, and then we get to
Yeah.
Danger, right? So
Yeah.
go ahead, Danger.
Yeah. I mean, I love the drums on this. This is my favorite, drum performance on this record,
Mhm.
by Eric Carr. I love the just the feel of the chords,
Uh-huh.
and just everything. And probably my least favorite is the chorus. Ironically, I mean, I think it's a
Mhm.
good chorus. I mean, I say I love the song. I still give it a 6.5. I'm not going crazy with this song,
Mhm.
so I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. The chorus, the danger, danger,
Yeah.
give me danger. Like I just the chorus just never did much for me. Man, I agree with pretty much every word you just said. I think the verses are great. I think I love the guitar playing on this. I love the riff in the song. Um, to me, this was the template for songs that were going to come on later albums, be it Under the Gun,
Mm-hmm.
I'm Alive. Every album had like a song like Danger. Um, I wonder, perhaps I think Under the Gun is better than Danger. I'll have to think about that one a little bit, but I actually went with a 6.5 on Danger as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so here it
Mm.
is. I thought that you were going to be the lover of all things side one of Creatures of the Night, and instead we pretty much have almost the exact same opinions. So if people are
Mm-hmm.
going to flame me, they're going to flame you also. So I like that.
Mm. There you go.
All right. Well, let's turn the record over then. Side B, the lead single from the record, the lead video. Obviously, the song they still performed in concert till their last show ever. I Love It Loud. Go ahead, my friend.
A bit overrated, this song. That's what I want to say. I listen. It's a classic with a K. I'm not going to deny that.
Mhm.
You know, but when I really thought about the song, yeah, it's got the tremendous drum beat. It's got a great theme for the
Mhm.
lyric. I mean, that being said, I gave the song a 7. I mean, still a good score. It starts getting that upper echelon on. It just hit that top, or that weird, upper echelon or more,
Mhm.
starting. But I just think it's a little overrated. I mean, yeah, they've been playing it forever. I
Yeah.
understand why. It's a great concert song. You got the cheering. It's got so many cool elements of it. But when I really kind of broke it down, even the guitar solo,
What about the whole
it
fade
fits the
out,
song
fade back in?
that I love.
Okay.
That I
Mhm.
love. That's a great part of the record. I
Yep.
mean, part of the tune. That's my favorite part, maybe.
Mm.
Well, maybe not my favorite part. I mean, again, the drum sound, how it comes in. It's
Yeah.
it's a monstrous song. Let
Yep.
me not. I'm not trying to water down what the song and the weight it has. However,
Mhm.
I just feel it's a little bit overrated. That being said, I still feel strong about the score. And when I really thought about it, I was like, wow, I just gave this a 7. All right, cool.
Mhm.
You know.
Yep. Yep. I I'm starting to get concerned that I might be sharing my screen with you today because holy crap, I love it loud. 7 is what I
Yeah.
have on my screen
Do
here.
you?
Yes, I swear on my life I do.
Oh wow.
I agree. It's a bit overrated to me. Now, saying that, I think it was the perfect choice for the lead single on this album.
Uh-huh.
I think
And a great video.
it's a great video. It obviously showcases Gene, which I think needed to be done at this time if you're showcasing a heavier record. So I think it's a great video. I think it's a 10 in concert. I know so many fans like, oh, when they were touring still, oh, I wish Kiss would drop I Love It Loud and Lick It Up. You can't
Mm-hmm.
drop I Love It Loud. This is just it's a classic with a K, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great crowd pleaser. It's great with fan interaction, but it doesn't mean it's a great album cut.
Right.
So to me, there's a part of me that would be disappointed if I went to see Kiss in concert and they didn't do this song. But if I'm listening to the album, it's a 7. It's right on that cusp of being an upper echelon song, but it's on that lower end of the upper echelon songs. It's no I Stole Your Love, it's no I Want You or any of those kind of songs. No Strutter. Yeah, I go with a 7.
All right. Wow, you really are right. This is getting scary.
It's uncanny. I don't think this ever
Mm.
happened to us on any album. So, all right, I Still Love You.
Well, this is the standout track on the album. If I, you know, it's a great song. I mean, from top to bottom. Great ballad, tremendous vocal by Paul. I mean, and just watch the MTV Unplugged version of this. I mean, um, the drum fills, Eric Carr's bass playing on it. I gave this is a perfect 10 in my opinion. The song,
Wow. Perfect 10. That I did not
perfect 10.
expect. I wasn't
Yeah,
even sure what your thoughts were on this song. I don't like the unplugged version because, like you said here, with all of Eric's fills at the end of the song, to me, that's just the whole feeling of Paul singing at the end with those drum fills is just like so perfect. And unplugged, it just loses it to me. I don't like when Paul starts doing those vocal gymnastics during the middle of
well,
the song. So
yeah,
I don't like the unplugged version. If we were going unplugged, I'd probably go 5 or lower on this. But
yeah.
we're talking Creatures of the Night. And I happen to agree with you. I think this is a freaking great song. I see so many people online saying that they should have removed this song from the album. And I always scratch my head and I'm like, what? Are
Well,
you crazy? This is a freaking great. It kind
ballad
of
bias.
changes. Yes, it changes the mood of the album a little bit, which I think is necessary when you have so many rockers after a row, one after another in a row. I don't quite give it as high of a rating as you. I can't go perfect 10, but I went with an 8.
Okay. How dare you disagree with me?
Well, you know what? I had a feeling I was going to go an 8. And before we did this, I thought you might go a little lower than that. And I figured the fans would be flaming me for going 8. So now they're going to flame you for going 10. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, perhaps.
And it's kind of ironic. That was the first song that we differed on. I thought we were going to differ in the opposite ways. So this is interesting. All right. Song number 8. Killer. Stone Cold Killer.
Again, not a horrible song. It's an average Gene song of 5. You know.
Go ahead. Finish what you
Nah, I mean, there's nothing else I really, it's classic Gene. The vocals got that, really classic,
Mhm.
Gene growl to it. It's great vocal, but it's a Gene song. Those average Gene songs. That.
Which is ironic because from everything that I've heard, this is like 90% Vinny right in this
Mm.
song. So while I agree, it does have that
Well,
classic Gene song sound, it's actually mostly a Vinny song.
it's because of the vocal.
Yes.
It's because of the vocal.
Yep.
I don't care what chords are there or the chord progression.
Yep.
It's the approach, the vocal. It's kind of like you've heard in other songs these Gene elements before.
Yeah. No, agreed. But saying that, I agree with you. It's an average song. Now, if you would have matched my score on this one, then I would have known something was really up. I'm going with a 5.2.
Yeah, that's classic.
If you would have said 5.2, that's it. Episode over. Re-record. You're cheating. But yeah, I went with a 5.2 on this one. But I agree.
Yeah.
Overall, obviously, this is an average song.
Yeah. Wow, we only got one song left. Boo. We got Chip. The last record we had 10 songs.
That's
This
right.
one we only have 9.
That's right. War Machine. Go ahead, my friend.
I mean, this song. What a great riff. It's one of the greatest riffs ever written. I want you to know that.
Wow. Okay.
It really is. It really truly is. I've come to, and I know you've talked about this. You hated the song in the 80s and stuff like that. But what a great riff, great vocal, great chorus. This song is just great. And I could teeter on this song. I gave it an 8.5, still being said. Which is the same score I gave Creatures of the Night. And I feel like they're kind of, equals in a sense. Again, I could give this a 9 on a given day. I could give Creatures a 9 on another given day.
Yeah.
But it's a strong 8.5 to me. Okay. What makes it not a 9 or a 10 or 9.5? I'm not even quite sure. I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
It's got a great solo section. It's kind of really odd what the guitar solo is doing. It's not predictable. I've really come to, and again, I'm gonna be a bit biased. It's playing in the band and doing the song, singing the song, and recording it for the record that's coming out. Yes, it's coming out. He knows I got to do this every episode.
Yes, every episode.
It's just a great song. I love this song.
Yeah. You touched on this before. If we would have done this in 1987 or 1988, I probably would have given the song a 3. Man, in the 80s did I hate this song, and you know that because we were friends in the 80s, and every time they did it in concert, I'd be like,
Yeah.
And I've come to realize I didn't like the song, not because I didn't like the studio version, but I just thought, again, doing this live and the sped up tempos, man, did it lose the feel of the song, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
actually really started to like this song, and dare I even say love this song, when the current or the last lineup was doing this in concert, and the feel they kind of went back to a normal speed for the song. And I thought Eric Singer's drumming was great. Obviously, Eric Carr was the one that played on the album, but I just really it made me relook at the song again and re-examine how I feel about this song. And so like I said, if I was doing this in 87, I would have given it a 3 or a 4, but we're in 2024 now, and Mike Brunn's eyes have been opened for the last 10 plus years. I went with an 8.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, this, I have to say, might be the biggest shock to me of any look back episode we've ever done. I truly thought that we were going to have very different opinions on these songs. And I thought you were going to be rating these songs much higher than I did. And I've always said, to me, that Creatures of the Night as an album is a bit overrated. And man, do I get flamed online when I say that, you know, but I look at the album, and whether it's, you know, Saint and Sinner, Keep Me Coming, Rock and Roll Hell, Killer, they're not bad songs, but they're album cuts for the most part. You know, they're not great songs. And even the great, like, I didn't go higher than an 8.5 on any song. You know, there's no, I know you went with a 10 for I Still Love You. For me, there's no Strutter, there's no I Stole Your Love, there's no songs like that that really, maybe, I hate to say this, maybe War Machine might be the closest. These goes, maybe in a year or two, if we do this again, I might go to a 9, and maybe one day I'll get to a 10 on that. But I think I stand by it. I think this record's a bit overrated.
I think your score of I Still Love You is a little too conservative, in my opinion. I really, I mean, there's just so many great elements of that, and maybe as a songwriter, how hard it is to write a song like that with that kind of feel and emotion. Maybe I'm giving them a little bit more weight, not to discount your opinion or the fact that you don't write songs. Well, not that people know.
I was gonna say, I've got the infamous Barf Up a Lung. Come on.
You don't. But you know, it's very interesting. If you would, let's just say, if you would, well, let's say what the final scores were before I give my comment here. So I know you usually ask, all right, so what were the final scores? So my overall rating was a 6.2, and yours was a 5.97. So call it a 6. So again, it's basically a 0.2 difference. But if you would have given the same score as me and Creatures, I mean, on I Still Love You, it would have been a 6.2 and a 6.17. So we basically would have matched. But you had to be different on that one song.
On that one song, it had to be different. And I mentioned this song before. To me, there's only 9 songs on this album. How the hell did they not include It's My Life on this? That, to me, would have been the 10 on this album. You know, to me, I absolutely love that song. Michael James Jackson did a great job on the album.
But the sound of that song, I don't really think matches with this record per se. I could see sonically, and it's a little. There's nothing really pop on this record. That song maybe more on Lick It Up. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that's when they just looked at everything and they just felt like maybe it was, because even I Still Love It, even though it's a ballad, but it's a ballad, so it fits the mold of what it's supposed to be. And it's a heavy ballad. But I could see, but I don't disagree with you about how good the song is at all. It doesn't belong on a record.
It's hard to argue that. And, you know, just kind of going back to I Still Love You for a moment. So I mentioned before that when I got Creatures, that's when I kind of tuned out as a Kiss fan for about a year, 9 months to a year. And it was because of I Still Love You. I remember hearing that song and thinking, what the hell is this nonsense? So it's kind of funny how I've kind of done an about face on that song. But oddly enough, that was the song that got me out of my Kiss fandom for 9 months to a year. It was I Still Love You. Just, it wasn't the pop on Unmasked. It wasn't the disco on Dynasty. It wasn't friggin' songs like Mr. Blackwell and Odyssey. It was I Still Love You. Go figure. That's like so bizarre as I look back on that now.
Was that when you started your crack habit?
Yeah, it might have been, actually. It's very bizarre, obviously.
Just so people know, you never had a crack or drug addiction. I just want to say that as a disclaimer. Mike smoked crack. You can see it all over it. Mike Brunn smoked crack as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old.
That's going to be the next Blabbermouth headline. Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
How can I make that happen just for shits and
Uh,
giggles?
my mom will be like scrolling through Facebook. She's like, "What the hell is this? I didn't know
Cute old
this."
pipe. Somebody
It's
photoshopped you.
oh man, oh man. We went through the songs and we touched a little bit
Mm,
about the album cover. What do you think of that original album cover? If you're rating that on a 0 to 10,
it's a great cover. I mean, I love that cover. You know, I'd actually thought about it. And maybe I have seen it. Have you ever seen the color photo of that?
the color photo isn't the album cover.
Well,
Well, I guess it's
it's blue.
okay.
It's
Yeah,
blue.
it's
It's
blue.
not in
Right,
color,
right. You're right.
but like
Okay.
the regular, you know.
I think I have, but
Hmm.
maybe I haven't. I don't know.
Well, the fact that you don't know,
Uh-huh.
come on, you would know.
Yeah, no, because I've seen
Well,
photos
you
from
also
that
seen
photo
seven.
shoot.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
maybe you probably have come across it, but I don't think I have.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
I have.
Yeah, look, I think the
I
album
didn't.
cover is phenomenal. I think the album cover
Mm-hmm.
is perfect for the Sonics on the album. Um, dare I say, I mean, I said the last episode of Rock and Roll Over, I think is my favorite Kiss album cover. Would Creatures be second? It might be.
Mm.
It might be.
I can see
Like
why.
it's such a perfect album cover.
I mean, do I like this cover more than Dress to Kill? No.
Really?
I love the Dress to Kill. Yeah, because it's just a great. I mean, listen, it's New York City. It's our backyard.
Right.
They're wearing Bill Coyne's clothes for God's sakes.
Yeah.
It's just such an iconic. You know, I'm not saying this is an iconic. You know, it's full body. I mean, listen, I love this cover,
Yep.
but I don't think I love it more than Dress to Kill.
Okay. No,
You know.
I definitely go with this over Dress to Kill.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if
Do you
we're
like
talking
it? So
back cover, the lightning bolt one is cool, right? The
yeah.
original. If we're talking the reprint with somebody's ass, then now
No,
that's a
I don't need
zero.
that. I don't need
That's a
that. I don't need
zero.
that.
You know?
But also, I love the Dynasty cover, and this is kind of similar, just in a little bit different
Yeah.
staggered order. I probably would like the Dynasty more. I think just because, again, it resonates more with me. It was one of the
Mhm.
records I actually either bought with my own money or got as a gift, and I owned that record.
Right.
And I told you on one of the episodes, I traced that record to death.
Sure.
You know, when I was getting into doing drawing and markers and all that crap I was
Mhm.
doing.
Mhm.
So you know,
Debut album
yeah.
cover or Creatures of the Night?
I mean, you got to go with debut album covers. It's
Wow.
the first, you know. And, you know, it's slightly different makeup. This again, I don't want to minimize how great the Creatures of the Night cover is.
Right.
It is a great cover.
Mhm.
But
So I gave it a solid 10. I'd go to 12 if I could. What was your rating? Did you give a rating on the album cover?
oh, is that what you gave it, a 12?
I'm
Are
giving
we
it
doing
a
that?
12. Yeah.
I don't know. You're
I'm
not
putting you on
allowed.
the spot. I'm putting you on the spot
No,
here.
you're only allowed a 10. We
All
don't.
right.
This is not Spinal Tap.
All right. So I'll take my
Yeah.
Spinal Tap rating out and I'll say 10.
Okay. What do I give the cover?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So funny what I'm looking at over here. It just reminds me of the
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's like it's like a 8.5, 9. I mean,
Okay.
God's sakes, you know.
Yep. 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 Now, what about obviously neither one of us saw the Creatures of the Night tour because it didn't come to New York, right? But you've seen videos and you've seen pictures. What are your thoughts on the whole tank stage, which they also used on the Look It Up tour? But what are your thoughts on the tank stage?
You know, I'm never a huge fan of that tank.
Yeah. It's another one that Kiss fans seem to love.
Yeah.
And I don't get why. It's nothing exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, when they did Creatures Fest and they had the tank, I understood it's
Right.
Creatures Fest and they're trying to capture, you know.
Yeah.
But I didn't really. I don't see that. I was like, oh my god, you know.
No, I agree. Look, the stage is certainly no Love Gun stage, and dare I say, this Creatures of the Night stage is not even as good as the Monster stage that had like the spider light and all of that. I think the Creature stage is kind of boring to me.
That or Dynasty, because Dynasty was very plain. They really kind of, you know, they had those ramps on the side, you know, that went like that, but they didn't really have.
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'd probably go Dynasty.
Yeah,
I'd probably go Dynasty, but both in some ways. So here it is. I'm saying I don't think the Creature stage is that great, but it was really good for what it was, right? So here it is. Kiss is putting out the heavier album. They're back doing hard rock. And a tank just kind of symbolizes that. Whereas I think the white stage of Dynasty was also perfect for that also. And maybe I'm more biased towards Dynasty because that was the first tour I saw, and that stage is just ingrained in my brain so much. I'd probably go Dynasty.
That has something to do with
it. Yeah. What about the costumes they used for this? To me, also, like, there's nothing. There's the whole. So it's funny because the whole visual, whether it's the stage, whether it's the costumes, I'm like, whatever. Well, yet, if you ask me what era do I want to listen to, I'd probably say right now, hey, I'd love to see a video from the Creatures era. I'd love to listen to that. The band was freaking firing on all cylinders live. You know, with Vinny being added to the band, they sounded amazing to me during this time period.
Yeah. Well, let's also realize, budgets and stuff like that. The Kiss wasn't generating in the 1977, 78, 79 timeframe anymore,
That's true.
So,
that's very
and they
true.
weren't selling the tickets like they were. So you're going to get out what you are able to pull in financially, right? So I had to think about how to say that. But,
Now, what about, I mean, obviously he's not on the album cover, but Vinny toured with them wearing the Ankh makeup and all of that. I know for me in the 80s, I strongly disliked that makeup design. I just thought it did not fit at all with the rest of the makeup designs that Kiss had done, the other 5, including Eric Carr. Over the years, I've come to really like that makeup design quite a bit, and the whole makeup visual of the band at that. So I just said I don't really love the costumes. I didn't love the stage, but the makeup and the look of the bands I thought was phenomenal at this time.
Yeah. It's a really hard thing to do, You created these 4, and they did really well with Eric, the character, the makeup, and then to have to do it again. Now it's starting to feel like, okay, you're right. You ran its course, like how many of these ideas you're really that are gonna be as strong. Obviously, they're not gonna be as strong as the originals, but it's hard. I can't really even fault the band for that.
No.
But it never really bothered me, Vinny's makeup. Obviously, I never saw them in concert or got to really appreciate it at the time. But as a look back, I don't really have any, bad things to say about the makeup and stuff.
At the time, what bothered me about Vinny's makeup is that there was nothing on his eyes themselves. Right? So the cross went up the nose and then over the eyes, right? And it just bothered me that technically his eyes had it was just white makeup, whereas every other makeup design had the eyes covered, or at least one eye covered in Stanley's case, right? So that's in the 80s, I think, what bothered me about Vinny's makeup. Now, all these years later, I'm like, well, it's kind of a cool, short-lived look of the band having, Vinny in makeup, and obviously Eric Carr is there in the Fox makeup, and he was there a little longer. Now I've come to really, like I said, if you ask me to sit down and watch something, I might say, let me go to the Creatures era first, because it's just
interesting.
It's so and maybe it's also because I never got the chance to see that tour. It's the only tour since 1979 that I didn't see, besides Unmasked, right? But Unmasked didn't come to America, right? The Creatures tour was in America. They did not come to New York City, so I didn't see any shows. Maybe there's a feeling of like missing out, so I want to see that.
Right. Yeah. Could be.
Definitely, yeah. Could be. Well, there's our look back of the Creatures of the Night album. I'm still very surprised that we were almost identical in our ratings.
That's my cousin Vinny always has to come in at least
at least once.
3 out of 5 episodes we do. It seems as something,
That's right. But yeah, so our ratings are almost identical. I'm curious to see what the viewers and listeners have to say. I have a feeling viewers and listeners are going to rate these songs higher than you and I did.
I do. Yeah, I agree with you.
Except for I Still Love You. Man, they're going to tell me I have to kick you off the show after this episode, I think.
Well,
sorry, people. He's not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. And I'm not changing my rating.
No, but it's one of the things I always say. Everybody's opinion's welcome. There's no right or wrong answers here. If somebody wants to say I Still Love You is a 0, that's their prerogative. They're entitled to that opinion. That opinion would be wrong, but they're entitled to it. So I'm really curious to see what people give ratings of these songs and what they thought about the whole era just in general. I'm really curious to see what they say about that. Otherwise, my friend, I think this is a wrap.
Where are we going? Which one? How am I doing? Am I going like this? Am I doing this? What am I doing?
I think we're just gonna say goodbye, everybody. Just a little wave this time.
What are they gonna do? Clown hands.
Yeah, clown hands. That's right.
Whatever they do.
Oh man, that is it. Thank you. I'm not going to torture you with any kind of finger in this time. I'm just going to say thank you as always, Bloody, and we look forward to seeing everybody's comments and ratings. Thank you as always for watching, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Alrighty, there you have it. We look forward to seeing and reading your thoughts and your comments on the Creatures of the Night album. Like we always say, there's no right or wrong answers, and we really look forward to seeing your opinions. We also love to hear your thoughts on the tour, the album cover, and everything Creatures related. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you all next time.